going to jump things or start things off with Sophia's lightning talk right off the bat. So I'll hand things over to you, Sophia.
Thanks, Dan. Hi, everyone. Glad to have this chance to give the talk in OpenJ9 community call again. Today, I'm going to introduce a new feature in Aquatest Jenkins job, which has been enabled since last January release. I will take a simple Jenkins job for example. For this job, it's a grinder, and if you see the interface, you will see there is a rerun field JDK test case in grinder with JDK custom target. This is a link, so if you click that one, it will direct you to a rerun Jenkins job, and all the parameter has been pre-populated. So that's the feature we have been recently enabled. And maybe some of you already be familiar with it and already even create some issue about it, and some of you may not. So I will give a quick introduce. So this feature is only work for when people running the OpenJDK test. So it means that it will not work with functional or system test, only OpenJDK test. The idea is when you run the Jenkins job with OpenJDK test, if there are field tests, if you see the JUnit test result, you will see, oh, there's some test failed. And when then you want to rerun to see if it's intermittent, intermittent, or if it's related with the machine, so you would like to rerun. In that case, you can just directly click this link. So what it does is similar to rerun the field test target link, but it's specific to have pre-populate the test target to the JDK customer. I need to find it. So the target has pre-populated as the JDK customer, and all the field test case will be pre-populated in the customer target. So what people, like user, need to do is just click the link and you do the rerun. It also, it's a general feature, so it works for the grinder or for all the other general, regularly nightly job, if it's a parallel, if it's not parallel. So for example, this one is our nightly job. From the job name, you can see it's running the OpenJDK test. So from here, you can see there's a field test. So we have that JDK custom target rerun link available. And if it's the parallel one, so for this one because it's an extended one, so we run the job parallel, which means it has a children's job, but we already grab all the tab file from the children's to the parent's job. So you cannot see the JUnit result, but we can go through the tab result and pre-populate the link. Either the JDK customer or the hotspot customer depends on if there's a hotspot test case failed or if there's a JDK test case failed. So it's similar. The only thing we did is we pre-populated the target with the JDK customer or the hotspot target and pre-populate all the test case. The test case is space separate. So all that means compared to the before, when people doing the triage, if there's a lots of the test failed, some people will just rerun the field target because it's really not convenient to copy paste all the field test case to the grinder. So that will solve that issue. And you can also go directly to the children's job. It's similar. So like this job is the children's job of the former one. It only has one tab file, but it will list all the field test job because it's a direct one. So here we'll enable that rerun JDK custom target. So all the field tests will be pre-populated in the target test case target. So what people need to do is just directly rerun the build. So you will be quickly rerun all the field jobs, and if it's some test case field, it's intermittent or it's machine related. Yeah, that's the feature we have enabled, which hopefully can help us like doing the triage quickly, smoothly, and save our time and our limited resources. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Sophia. Does anyone have any questions for Sophia?
Yeah, I want to just add the comments. Like I really like that feature. I have been using it recently, and definitely that's a feature having triage people in mind. So thanks for that. And just quick, just wondering, is there any chance like we could add the default iteration number in rerun? So currently all just run once.
Oh, so that I probably needed to. I think Renfei recently enabled some iteration feature. I can talk with him, see if we can add that feature too. So you mean rerun the field test with JDK custom target and with the multiple times, right?
Yes, currently
Yeah.
just run it once. So only with that link, only typing I need is I specify like how many iteration, how many machine number. Usually, typically for my case, just like 50 grand run, but any number works fine if that worked for your charge as well.
But right now, it means the default is 1, right? So
yes.
You want to set it to some other number, or you? Oh, okay.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Because usually in failure, more like we will suspect it's intermittent thing. So if we can reproduce in certain number of grand, I mean, so
sure, we can. Yeah, we can definitely talk about it and
okay,
can
cool.
enable it. Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Thanks.
Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention is I'm not sure OpenJ9, but in Adoptium for this March release, this feature, because we use the same branch as the January one, so we will not backport this feature to the JDK 20 release. So which means when you're running with the branch of the release branch, so this feature is not enabled. Not sure about not sure OpenJ9 will OpenJ9 do the JDK 20 release. If yes, probably this feature will not be enabled. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Sophia.
Thanks.
The agenda back up. So we will jump down into our usual updates. Take a quick look at the recent user-raised issues. Everything that's come in the last week seems to be getting some level of discussion, so that's good. Is there anything in this list that needs some conversation today or some further focus? Jump back to the agenda. The 038 release for Java 8, 11, and 17 The milestone 1 build looks like that has been completed, so that's good. We're a week away from the milestone 2 build, so let's take a look at the milestone plan, and I see we still have 20 items in here. Pete, do you have a state on where we're at with this?
No, not at the moment. Might be worth taking a quick look through the list.
So the OpenSSL, we usually do that last minute. Switch JDK 8 compilation. Is this going to be done for M2?
It was actually done for M1. It's just still open in case there was a problem, but I didn't see any problems in M1, so I should just make sure we have the appropriate doc issue and close it off.
And just a note on the SSL one that we skipped over, it's not the kind of regular make sure we're up to date. This is support for SSL version 3 that isn't available on all platforms, or we haven't implemented support on all platforms yet.
Ah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we should move that one out.
Should move out. Java 20 or to the next quarterly refresh?
I think the next quarterly. We're going to run out of time for this one because is there a date in there? Well, I guess it's the 9th month, September.
Yeah, so September, they're not going to support prior to version 3 is my understanding.
So in the third quarter release, we need to have this working. So I guess the next release.
So the July release, this becomes critical.
Well, I guess the July release could still use 1.1.1, but the October release is going to need to have this working. It's mostly a build problem. I don't think the machines we build on have the proper support to build OpenSSL 3 in all cases.
Does anybody have an opinion on whether when we adopt support for version 3, does it mean we're going to drop support for the previous versions?
You don't need to drop support. It's just that they won't be supported anymore. So if there's any security vulnerabilities found, they won't be fixed.
Right. And so that doesn't sound like a good outcome, that we're going to leave people with security vulnerabilities.
Well, maybe it's more wishy-washy than that. Like, I suppose, I don't know what
Red
Hat might do.
To bypass the acceleration that comes with the native support in favor of security.
Right. Well, you could use OpenSSL 3, which is still going to be supported.
Yeah. So I'm not saying but I'm saying if you're running on a machine that only has OpenSSL 1.1.1 whatever, after it's gone out of support, perhaps we shouldn't use it if we know that there are security vulnerabilities.
Maybe. I'm wondering if it's more wishy-washy, like maybe Red Hat would look at the vulnerabilities and still maintain a 1.1.1 version, fixing the security vulnerabilities themselves. So I don't know what the vendors might do.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's
Do we make any statements about what we support?
What was that? I missed the first part of the
Do we make any
question.
statements about what we support?
I think we still support 1.0. If it's there, I think the VM will use it. If it can't, like it's got an order, so it'll. We already support 3.0 on Linux, so if it finds that 3.0, it'll use that one first, and if it can't find that, it'll fall back to 1.1.1, and if it can't find that, it'll fall back to 1.0.
It sounds like we may want an option for this. It says allow out of support SSL or something. So our default is to stop, but if you specify the option, we will pick up the whatever versions that we have support built into the VM for.
Yeah, can you make that suggestion in the issue, Dan? Just so it doesn't get forgotten.
Terrible name, but
Well, we can adjust the name, but the notion that a user would have to be explicitly enable a version that is out of support.
okay. Just looking at the time here, we're about 15 minutes left in our meeting, so we probably don't have time to go that deep into every one of these items. But looking at the list here, are there issues that we do need to talk about? Deflate issues, I feel like we've pushed this forward a couple of times.
Dan,
Yeah.
I went through the. Sorry, go ahead, Pete.
You go ahead.
I was just going to say I went through the JIT list this morning and I purged or I moved a number of them out to 40 or beyond. So the ones that are left are ones that I think we have a reasonable chance of making some progress on for 38 still.
Okay, given the timeline for M2 is about a week away, that still matches your expectation that we'll be able to get things fixed for that?
Some of the JIT ones, yes. I think there's only about 8 JIT ones left, though.
Then in terms of skipping the JIT ones, the OpenSSL memory leak issue. Do we know if anyone's actively looking on that?
Yeah,
I'm reviewing it. I mean, there were some other things I noticed along the way that aren't involved in the user's test case. So I think we've decided that we'll merge what the fixes we have already and make a note of other things that need attention there.
The test Docker memory metrics. Babneet, any chance you've had a chance to look at this?
I'm not sure. Let me open the issue. Okay. I think I've commented on the issue once, right? So
Well, it's assigned to you. That's why I'm asking.
I think I may have commented like a few months ago, so I'm not sure. So I think I did. We ended up, I think, excluding the test because it was irrelevant.
We don't have to spend a whole lot of time on it now, but seems like we should sort this out and make sure it's out of the milestone planner. We do what's necessary.
Next one that's non-JIT is an OpenSSL blocker.
I think that turned out to be a bug in OpenSSL itself. Could take a quick look at the last comment, but maybe Jason was going to report it to, was it Red Hat?
So it does look like this is a bug they're able to reproduce outside of Java.
So if it's a bug in the OpenSSL provided by the vendor, there's not much OpenJ9 can do about it. We don't need this in the milestone plan.
We should track it until we've opened an issue upstream, the appropriate provider. but I will bump that forward to 40 as well. That's JIT. This is ensuring we're up to date. Enable creation of DTFJ plugins. Sound like a blocker for the release. Release notes. CRIU options processing, also JIT. JVM parameters post restore. Adobe?
Yeah, so go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so we think we'll get everything we want done for 0.38 by the end of the week. There's a couple parameters left that we're still working on, but we're pretty close to completing those. So I've just had this there for tracking purposes, but that's something that will be done with.
DDR stack slots command is broken. Keith, is that on your radar?
Yeah, there's some other virtual threads and continuations related stuff that's coming for DDR, and I'm not convinced yet that this isn't just a symptom of those missing pieces.
These two are also JIT, and the last one is...
Yeah, those two hangs, we haven't really looked into them yet. I did ask for the Java cores for the Liberty hang. I haven't received them yet, but yeah, those still need to be looked at and triaged.
And the last one is a test failure in the test Docker basic.
So we need to add the Boolean value. I don't know, Jason, were you going to add that, or do we ask Len to add that?
Oh, I could try.
So, Jason, I'll just assign that to you then.
Sure.
All right, so that gets us through that list.
Could we go back to the DTFJ plugin one? It seems to me we have some. Is that the one where we have some bad? Well, we're not exporting the right packages for Java 17 Plus. Yeah. I'm thinking we should fix this if possible. It doesn't seem like a hard fix. I don't know, Keith, what you were thinking.
I was on mute. My plan was to try and build a kind of minimal kind of hello world plugin or whatever, just to see what's needed. But the API of all of this stuff, predated me by probably a decade, so I don't know what the intent of some of this stuff was. So it'd be just some learning involved before we can get this sorted out. But hopefully it's just exporting the right things.
Yeah.
So that a plugin is possible.
I think we could get this into the release even if it happens after M2. It doesn't seem like it's critical to get it done before M2.
Okay, we're going to have to decide what other things I'm not doing then. Yeah, we can boost its priority if you like.
It just seems bad that nobody can use their DTFG plugins with Java 17 Plus anymore.
I don't know that they can't use them. They can't compile them.
No, you won't be able to use them. You can compile them, say, with 11, but you can't run them on 17.
There's no combination of add exports and add opens.
It should work if you can figure out how to do it.
Yeah, but if you figure out the answer to that question, then we know what to normally export, so you don't need magic options.
That there is a workaround that you could run it. It's just an unpleasant set of command line options that you're going to have to set.
I think you're right that there might be a set of options, but I don't know. And like I say, the work to figure out the answer to the workaround is the same as the work to figure out the answer.
Okay. I think the point being, though, that this isn't a complete blocker for somebody who's in that situation. They do have a workaround.
Oh, okay, that's fair. Yeah. So even after release, we might be able to share the options with them as a workaround if it doesn't make it.
All right. So that's 038. I will highlight that date again. The M2 date is March 20th. We want to get out the door for April 18th, so that doesn't give us a huge amount of time. In terms of Java 19, take a look at our plan. I think we're down about 6 items here, which is a good place to, or a better place to be. Do we want to run through each of these, or is there an update that's worth having a discussion on each of these given the time?
I think we should run through them. I don't mind running over today.
The humongous stack.
So that one is already merged to master. We're just waiting for the backward PR to be merged before we close this issue.
It's good to hear. The pin-a-lot illegal monitor state exception.
Minor progress on that one. I mean, Annabelle's given it a lot of attention, but we haven't really made a lot of forward progress on that. So, still looking at it, and a bit tough to come to a conclusion.
The Skynet fails on larger machines. See Lynn on the call. Dimitri, do you have a state of that?
I do not have latest update. I know that Lynn was in debugging some concurrent scavenge and concurrent mark problems. Yeah, this new failure I looked this morning, so just in general describe what it is, but I can take a look if somebody provide me call.
All right, so it sounds like that one's still ongoing. The Skynet Java hang timeout.
So the hang and timeout is due to performance issues. We have a pending PR open that would reduce the performance we have, but as per discussion with Bevni, we came up with a better design to reduce the performance issue even farther. So that is still a work in progress. Given the nature that this is performance and not actually a functionality issue, we're thinking that this is not a mandatory requirement to be for 19.
When we say it's a performance issue.
So I think we have workarounds to improve the performance. So we can provide command lines which will get the performance better and avoid the hang and timeouts.
What I was going to ask was how big of a gap are we actually talking here?
Without the options to improve performance, I think it's 40 times in comparison to the reference implementation. But it's because the benchmark scales to 1 million virtual threads. If you scale down a little bit to, for instance, 500,000 or to by a factor of 10, the performance matches the ROI. So it's just a scaling where you break the extreme cases where we perform badly. But we do have a few options which we can apply and get the performance better to almost, I think, 10K. So 10 times the ROI. So we can get it down from 40 times to 10 times. But to get better performance, I think we will need the PR that Jack mentioned about. Back to you, Dan.
How far off is the PR that Jack mentioned?
I think it has a probability to break a lot of other things functionally. So even though it's like it seems it's a straightforward PR to get performance up, it may break a lot of things, and the issues will be difficult to manage if we plan to release JDK 19. So, Jack, do you want to give an update on how close the PR is from?
So the original PR before the exclusive VM access change that we discussed is already ready. I've run the Sanity functional and Sanity OpenJDK, and both were passing.
I think it's the extended OpenJDK where the JVM TI tests reside, so you will have to also run those.
Yeah, so that one I haven't had time to run yet. In terms of the new design for EMV, it's almost ready. I should be able to get it in this week and test it. And we would have to see how the test result comes up to know like an exact date of when that will be ready to be merged.
So it sounds like it's something we should keep monitoring for the time being and make a go, no-go decision once we better understand the test results.
Yep.
Yep.
The field access watch segmentation error.
Jimmy has a fix for that he's been testing. I think things are looking good there. I asked him this morning for status on that. I haven't heard back yet.
And the last item here, the breakpoint in yield test segmentation error.
So we're seeing a failure on that one. I am still investigating in the core file to see what exactly is the thing that's broken. I know Babni have pushed in a fix for part of the issue. This seemed to be a different portion.
Okay. So it sounds like we're in a better state than we were last week, but still no firm ETA yet on where we're at. Right.
Do we have an idea when I know we talked about drop dead date in the past. Do we have an idea when that is right now? When we need to get, I guess, the last date in which we could get fixes in order to do the builds that we need to do to release JDK 19 before 20?
So, sorry, I just got to look at the 20 schedule for a second. So if 20 is supposed to GA March 21st, that means that 20 is going to go out without any security fixes. It's the sort of 1 month after that the security fixes come out, where putting a 19 out becomes more questionable at that point. So we're really talking the April 18 release is where it becomes more questionable about putting a 19 out after that. So if we start walking back from there, we need a couple of weeks to do testing for that. So talking what, early April?
Okay, so we have another couple of weeks then. At most.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Anything else we want to touch on for 19? Given the time, it's probably not worth pulling up the 20 plan, but that release is coming up quickly on us as well. You need to sort of figure out what our position is going to be on shifting from 19 to 20 if we're not able to get 19 out. Probably something we should discuss further on the next one of these calls. Do we have an update from the Adopt folks?
There's no real update except to say I've chatted with LAN for that SSDF salsa badging. Oh, since we're going to be doing that for Aquavit as well, I'd like to take a look what is required for OpenJ9 because I think a lot of this criteria are already being met. So perhaps I'll create a issue and just kind of step through them with LAN, and then other committers will be asked for input. And specifically, I think Adam, probably you'll have a lot of input to give there.
Thanks, Shelley. Adam, is there an update on the infrastructure?
Just wanted to note that we disabled the copyright checks, which I think everybody saw. except for still on in the extensions repos, because those ones are a little bit more complicated. But I wondered if we need to have a conversation at some point about those. Probably not today, but another day.
Seems like we could all the files that are IBM modified could change their copyright to not have an end date, and then they wouldn't need to be updated anymore.
What I was getting at.
All right. For the other projects in here, is there anything that we need to touch on? JIT server, microJIT, CRIU, Mac, Apple Silicon work. Otherwise, I guess we'll host the next one of these calls next week. So thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Thanks.